Welcome to In Focus on this Sunday, December 10th, 2017. I'm Cheryl Wills. For more than 80 years, the New York City Housing Authority, or NYCHA, has been home to more than 500,000 residents. But these are tough times for the cash-strapped agency. There are issues from the ground up, from mold and lead to public safety. In a few moments, you'll hear directly from the head of NYCHA, Shola Olatoye. David Jones of the Community Service Society is in our studios as well today. He's a longtime advocate for low-income New Yorkers. City Councilman Richie Torres is also here. He's one of the few lawmakers at City Hall who can actually say he grew up in public housing. And later, you might be surprised by just how many famous faces once called public housing home. All that and more in a moment, but first, the head of the city's public housing authority was grilled at a city council hearing last week over her agency's failure to conduct mandatory lead paint inspections. Here is our Grace Rao.
Shola Olatoye says she did it on her own. The Housing Authority chairwoman told city council members that she did not consult with top city officials about signing federal documents, falsely stating that her agency had conducted lead paint inspections when it had not.
Signing the forms at that time was a mistake, given what we know.
Olatoye testified that she did not talk to the mayor about signing the paperwork. She suggested Deputy Mayor Alicia Glenn was in the dark as well.
I don't recall saying I'm signing the document today, Deputy Mayor.
The tense hearing comes 3 weeks after the city's Department of Investigation announced that Olatoye had falsely claimed in federal paperwork that the city was inspecting apartments for lead paint when it was not.
Our investigation into this matter is ongoing, and beyond that, I can't talk about what we may find as we continue investigating this.
The city also hid the fact that the required inspections were not happening. After Olatoye became aware of the lapses, more than a year passed before she went public with the news.
You've gone 15 months without telling the general public that your agency was out of compliance. Do you regret that?
In hindsight, we absolutely, our communication could have been more precise.
Public housing residents attended the packed hearing, including Sharon Page, whose 4-year-old son, Cayenne, has elevated lead levels. She is suing NYCHA.
Just treat everybody fairly. Give us the repairs and stuff that we need living in housing. They treat us like second-class citizens. We don't get nothing done.
Mayor de Blasio has so far defended the chairwoman, Shola Olatoye, and said that she is part of the solution at the city's public housing authority.
When NYCHA was established in 1935, it was a model for public housing back then, but a new report by the Independent Democratic Conference calls NYCHA a public housing peril. Joining me now is the president and CEO of NYCHA, Shola Olatoye. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
Absolutely. Now, you were on the hot seat in front of the city council last week, and you called the signing of the forms regarding the lead paint a mistake. Explain what you mean.
Well, first, let me say, New York has record low child lead paint poisoning. They've driven the city's health, sort of comprehensive health department, has driven those numbers down such that 80% of children are tested for lead poisoning by the age of 2 and 90%, I believe, by the age of 6. So thankfully, the public health threat is a low one. One child still too many. Yeah. With regard to NYCHA's role in this, we have been, as your show and others have reported, an institution that has suffered from decades of disinvestment. And when we came in 2014, we set to begin to turn around this place. One of the things that we uncovered as part of a lot of different discussions were some significant gaps in compliance with regard to local law 1 and lead-based compliance and HUD rules as well. And so as we have learned of these gaps, we've sought to correct them. There's a certificate that certifies going forward that the authority will be in compliance with all federal rules, federal, state, and local rules.
Right. And you signed that.
I did, because at that time I was under the, we both had just disclosed to our regulator that we had uncovered some pretty significant compliance gaps, and I believed that those disclosures were sufficient. So at no point was there ever any intention to lie or mislead.
It was just, it was a mistake.
It was a
in your
mistake,
words.
and I've said that. And you know, in hindsight, something that executives don't always have the pleasure of having, I wouldn't have signed the form because we actually were working on a corrective action plan to move the agency towards compliance. So look, the bottom line, and I hope that your viewers hear this, is if you are a NYCHA resident and you are concerned about the paint conditions in your apartment, we encourage you to contact the customer contact center or go to your management office and we'll respond accordingly. We are approximately 95% of the way through our 2017 in-unit apartment inspections, and we'll begin that work that's associated with that. So we take this very seriously, and we're moving forward to get our house in order, as well as ensure that the compliance can be something that the agency can stand by going forward.
Right. Well, Madam Chair, I have no less than 3 reports all this year. Community Service Society that called Public Housing New York's third city, a task report by the Bronx Task Force, and another report by the Independent Democratic Conference. All of them cite lead as being a significant problem throughout the developments in NYCHA. Is lead abatement a top priority?
Absolutely. And one, I will say again, we should be guided by the facts and data. And the public health data tells us that between 2010 and 2016, the number of children who tested positive with elevated blood levels at the Housing Authority was very small. Again, one child too many. We all are very concerned about that. And look, there are lots of ideas and smart people in this city. And I think more importantly, the question is, what are we going to do about it? And that's what we've been focused on as part of the de Blasio administration, as part of Next Generation NYCHA, which has been our 10-year strategic plan to get the authority to better financial health and to tackle what is a $17 billion capital need. That didn't happen overnight. This has been decades of disinvestment, and we're tackling it right now.
So you do have a third-party vendor that is assisting with this?
That's right. In 2017, we secured an EPA-certified third-party vendor who is doing the inspections and will begin the associated work on the in-unit inspections with children under the age of 6.
With children under the age of 6. Now, another big concern for NYCHA is safety. This Bronx report in particular says most people don't feel safe in the developments in the Bronx. What's being done? Do we need more cameras?
So, baked into our plan is creating a safe, clean, and connected community for all residents. It's what you and I both want for our families. And, in partnership with NYPD, who is the law enforcement agency, we have, and with the mayor's support, there's been a significant investment in not only additional police officers, so that there are neighborhood community officers throughout our developments, but improved lighting and cameras and programs to give places for young people to go, particularly during the summer months. We've seen something like a 25% decrease in shootings at the authority, and I think that is a real shift for the authority. Look, no one would suggest that it is okay that 5% of the city's population experience 20% of the city's violent crime.
And that's what I was going to say.
Absolutely. And so we have to figure out, as a city, what we are willing to invest and support to ensure that all New Yorkers, including the 1 in 14 who rely on us, can live in safe and decent places.
Right. Well, I have 1 minute. What is your biggest accomplishment in the time you've been at the helm?
So we are incredibly proud that we have been able to do a couple of things. One, we have driven down the repair times that it takes for basic maintenance. When we started, it was 14 days. Now it's 4 days to get your doorknob fixed. You shouldn't have to wait that long. We also balanced our books for the past 3 years. That hadn't happened in 15 years. We've jump-started our capital program. We have $1.5 billion of work on the street, and we've gotten our Sandy program back on track. So look, at the end of the day, our residents deserve better. We're working towards that, and this is a turnaround effort, and that's the work that I'm committed to.
Ms. Olatoye, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.